shifting, such a shifting war, and in a negative way in the United States. These awful shootings, Annunciation in Utah, unending crises. Oh, can you guys hear me? I'm asking him. Unending crises, and sometimes we feel an ache of longing for a more stable world, a place where the ground feels firm and predictable. What's happening to our democracy? Are we trying? Do we care about protecting the fragile institutions that promise fairness and order? Sometimes it seems like we don't. So when things are outside us are so difficult, we tend to turn inside to spiritual practice. Like meditation as a refuge from the storm. It's just natural that we will do that. Because we yearn for a peaceful mind, a calmness, a stillness that will never leave us. Is that possible? Is it possible to find a stillness that's truly our home, beyond our feeling that everything is going to hell, in a country rooted in liberty, justice, and freedom for all? Yikes. Yikes. Is it possible? Is it possible to find a calm that's unshakable regardless of what's happening outside? A tranquility, a calmness beyond the constant grinding reality of the chaos that our country seems to be plunging into. A longing. And of course, longing is part of human nature. And even the great Zen masters talked about their longing. One is Basho. Basho. The great Zen haiku poet, maybe the most prominent historical haiku poet, and Zen master Basho. I'm going to use his haiku several times today. Even in Kyoto, hearing the cuckoo's cry, I long for Kyoto. Even in Kyoto, hearing the cuckoo's cry, I long for Kyoto. So he's reached the fabled city. Even then, it's a fabled city. It's steeped in Zen, aesthetically and also practice-wise. And he remembers the Kyoto of his youth, which was more tranquil, where the focus was more on meditative awareness. And he longs for that. Even in Kyoto, hearing the cuckoo's cry, I long for your Kyoto. The cuckoo's call reminds him that everything is changing. The cuckoo doesn't live long. It cries now and then it's gone. Everything is in flux, in flux. My friend and student in Berkeley sent me a picture of the street that my grandmother's home was on in San Francisco, including, I think, her house, where I spent a lot of time as a kid, And I felt deep longing when I saw her house, deep longing. But if I go back, it will be very, very different. Every time I go back, it's very, very different, especially the San Francisco Bay Area. So that longing, natural, but at the same time, it pulls us away if we get caught by it from just being from just being here. So if longing is a spiritual ache for a stable world, it is. It's an ache. Uncertainty is the undeniable fact of its absence. Everything and everyone is uncertain, always in flux. Our relationships, our health, the political climate, the surface of a great ocean, constantly changing with the tides and the wind. The collision of longing and uncertainty hurt us. They're the source of so much anxiety, so much suffering. And we try to build our lives on a foundation of certainty. It's what we do. Stable career, secure home, predictable future, absolute certainty. But it's an illusion that shackles us. But still we do it. Even if we're Zen Buddhists who've been practicing for 84 years, we still do it. And uncertainty is not merely a threat to our plans, it's the very fabric of reality. A gradual demise of our democracy makes us feel more uncertain. Of course. And so we long even more desperately. And the more we're uncertain we feel, the more we long, and the more we long, the more uncertain we feel, and the more we suffer. The more we suffer. Our cycle of suffering. In ancient Buddhism, the 12-fold chain of suffering. So another historical haiku poet I'm very fond of is Isa, Buddhist priest Isa. And one of his haikus goes like this. He writes this haiku after his son's death. His son dies. His son is only 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and he dies. And Isa writes, "The dewdrop world is the dewdrop world, and yet, the dewdrop world is the dewdrop world, and yet. We long for a future, assurance of a future in which things are just a little bit stable. We long for that. But all we're really assured for is a present which may give us great pain. That's all we really are assured of. But we are assured of that. And if we be with it, it doesn't have to give us great pain. But I'm skipping ahead to my to my end now. Because some of you are looking like you need to hear that. So Stanley Kunitz, before his death at 78 years old, wrote, "Between certainty and the real, an ancient enmity. When the cat walks in the path hedge, no part of her body is not waiting. This is how she is able so completely to disappear. I would like to enter the silence portion as she does, to live amid the great vanishing as a cat must live, one shadow fully at ease inside the other." So is it possible to find our footing in instability? To radically accept the groundlessness of everything? Instead of seeking a refuge from the storm, to respond to each moment as it just is, without the heavy baggage of our expectations and our longing for a different outcome? Is that possible? That's a great question. You might ask yourself. And if you can continue practicing, you can go very deep through that question, very deep. instead of seeking a refuge from the storm, we can respond. We can respond. And when we do that through our meditation practice, our longing begins to soften. We're no longer a dry riverbed longing for water, but we're the water itself. We're the water itself, flowing with the terrain, finding its way around every rock. All those rocks seem dense, but not to the water. The water always finds a way to get through. That's your nature. That's your Buddha, no Buddha nature. It finds a way to go through. It's your nature. To enter the water and just flow with it. What my teacher called opening to your great treasure. But let's not thingify, let's not reify this great treasure, nor aggrandize this great treasure. It's made of shifting sands. It's the groundless ground. The groundless ground. That sounds paradoxical and puzzling, but it's not. It's not. Letting go of how things should be. And the illusion of control. The illusion of control. The longing for permanence. As it begins to lose its grip, there's a space for something new, something liberating. Maybe this is a simple act of saying yes to life. Maybe this is the simple act of just saying yes to life in the middle of uncertainty. Maybe we need to see the folly of our longing for a permanent, stable world and say yes to this, whatever this is. Not as a passive surrender, but as a full-throated, courageous embrace of what is. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can do that. Is it possible? Being here, present with messiness, with joy, with pain, with beauty, with all the components that make this world, externally and internally. When the guiding teacher here, Katagiri Roshi, was at the monastery in Japan called Eheiji Monastery, this was after World War II, and they didn't have enough to eat. And he used to tell stories about how they would find food to eat. But also he tells about how he was hungry when he got to the monastery. Everybody went to Eheiji because they thought they wouldn't starve. The monk, you wanted to become a monk then, because if you went to the monastery, at least you'd get white rice. But that was not his motive. He had a deeper motive, which is why we're here right now. Anyway, when he got to the monastery, he began noticing that there's a practice at Eheiji, I don't know if it's still there, of when the senior monks are around, or the roshis are around, or the inos are around, and the young monks, whenever the roshis say anything to them or ask them anything, or the inos, they say, yes, hi, hi, hi. That's how they say yes, hi. And Katagiri Roshi, who lived upstairs, I would knock on his door and, hi, immediately, hi, immediately, yes, yes, yes. Because he had that in him. He'd gotten that in him from his years of practice. Just saying yes to what is. And at first, it seemed kind of stupid to him that they all had to go around saying yes, but he got it in him through his practice. He got it in him, so it wasn't just a superficial way of being, it was the actual way of living. So this comes from the practice of meditation. Sitting with the mind just as it is, saying yes to whatever comes up, without trying to fix it or change it, and then carrying this into daily life. Joshu was once asked, what is the way? He replied, Or what is the Tao? He replied, the way is everyday life. That's the ultimate yes. Our footing not in a mystical realm, in the reality of our own 2 feet on the ground, regardless of how much it seems to be shifting. It's this ground's nature to shift. Sorry, it's the ground's nature to shift. I'm not sorry. I'm a little bit sorry. So our longing is naturally to search for something better, something more complete. But our radical yes says, this is enough. This moment, this breath, this feeling, all of it's whole and complete, just as it is. Instead of pushing against the current, which is sweeping our moorings away, we turn and swim with it. We turn and swim with it. That's been practice. That's been practice, but it's not practice in order to, it's just turning with the current and swimming with it. Not in order to, later on, it's right now, always right now. Not about becoming a doormat or letting ourselves be overwhelmed by the world's chaos. Being a clear, calm river. Letting our feelings, our thoughts, our experiences flow through. As my teacher said, if your mind is empty, it's always ready for anything. It's open to everything. And I would also say if your mind is full, because everybody thinks, I need to empty my mind. But your original emptiness doesn't know the difference between emptiness and full. How could it? So I would say if your mind is full, it's always ready for anything. It is open to everything. You can experience this in your meditation. So yes is not about a sudden mystical shift. It's the slow, patient work of learning to be here. Just learning to be here. When a difficult feeling arises, we say yes. We simply observe it with some kindness, with some curiosity. When we feel the ache of longing, we say yes. We don't, I shouldn't be longing for San Francisco. I will probably be longing for San Francisco, where I was born and my family was for generations, till I die. That's part of life, to long for wonderful things from our past. So this radical yes isn't dependent on anything. It's a deep sense of just quietness and love that exists in the very heart of the storm, and not out there, right in the heart, right in the center. This is the only thing I know, and I don't really know this, but it knows me. It knows me. This is the stillness we long for, but it's not outside of the world's constant motion. It's not outside of our democracy falling away. It might be revived, but it will take us 20 or 30 years. And if it gets much worse, it will take us 40 or 50 years, if that's at all possible. So there's no perfect reality. This is the reality right here. And we can hug each other. We can hug this reality because we're part of it and it's part of us. Saying yes begins as a discipline of attention. It's a discipline of attention. I call it bare awareness in meditation. A discipline of bare attention, bare awareness. And slowly and organically, the layers of our desires and fears get peeled away. They just get peeled away to reveal something simple and unadorned. When we let go of the struggle against uncertainty, our senses sharpen. We see the vibrant color of flowers and green and birds. We feel today the warmth on our skin. Wow, the warmth on our skin, and wasn't it mid-September already? Wow, can we just enjoy this warmth of our skin today, spend time out of it and outside and just do that? Be here with it? Where I live, we only have sparrows. We have bird feeders, and we do bird bath, but only sparrows. Well, why do I say only sparrows? I can enjoy the sparrows. I don't have to pine away for the occasional cardinal that comes at dusk or dawn, dusk or dusk, dawn or dusk, excuse me, dawn or dusk. The squirrels too. You know, chipmunks have come into our yard. We never had chipmunks. We hate squirrels and we love chipmunks. Well, what's the deal? This is our calcified mind that doesn't just appreciate the extraordinariness of the ordinary. Saying yes. Saying yes. That's not a distraction from our spiritual work. That is our spiritual work. Each experience, when we meet it with a willing mind, a present mind, becomes a gateway to a deep composure and love of life, and love of death, too. So, two quotes on saying yes. One from C.P. Cavafy in 1900 in Greece. I just found these in my notes. You know, I've been giving talks for so many years, so I've got hundreds and hundreds of notes, totally disorganized. I never know what I've talked about before, but I do have these notes in my screen, and I can find them sometimes and call them up. So here's what Cavafy and Rumi said. Of course, you all know Rumi, but none of you know Cavafy. Cavafy. For some people, the day comes when they have to declare the great yes or the great no. It is clear at once who has the yes ready within him and is saying it. He goes from honor to honor, strong in his conviction. He who refuses does not repent. Asked again, he'd still say no. Yet that no drags him down all his life. Yet that no drags him down all his life. And we move to Rumi. Forget your life. Forget your life. Say God is great. Get up. If you opened your loving to God's love, you're helping people you don't know and you have never seen. Is what I say true? Say yes quickly, as if you know, as if you've known it from the beginning of the universe. Say yes quickly. So as we move, and we do through this practice, through longing and uncertainty, by saying yes, our minds are no longer captured by worry and fear. They're not captured by it anymore, regardless of what's happening to our precious democracy. We're not captured by that. And we begin to see and appreciate more and more the extraordinariness of the ordinary. The extraordinariness of the ordinary. Now I've got to go. Now I'm going back to Basho again. Why not, Margaret? Why not? Basho. And Basho writes about the extraordinary is the ordinary, not about grand events or dramatic changes. He feels the wonder in just the every day, every day. Here he is. On a bare branch, a crow is sitting, autumn evening. On a bare branch, crow is sitting, autumn evening. So it's a cold autumn evening. It's just a cold autumn evening. The bare branch is just a bare branch. The crow sitting is just the crow sitting. Complete stillness, if you really listen to that poem. Complete stillness. He's not longing for spring or for the crow to sing. He accepts and appreciates what is. The extraordinariness of the ordinary. This is Zen. This is no Zen. This is no trace of Zen. The extraordinariness of the ordinary. And Basho's most famous poem, Old Pond, a frog leaps in, plop. His most famous haiku, at least when I was young, I don't know anymore. Everybody writes haiku now. Only the immediate reality of the pond, the frog, and the sound, plop. But that plop is a stillness, not a disruption. It's what Suzuki Roshi used to call no gaining idea. You just feel it. You feel its beauty and its wonder, and you don't compare it to anything. That's your Zen mind, your no Zen mind. Your Zen heart, your no Zen heart. So, longing is included. It's not a sign of inadequacy, but of our potential. It's the echo of our true nature, calling us home, calling us back to just be here, not to go to some other destination. This is the destination. This right here is the destination. Breathing together, right here. Breathing together, right here. Final poem by Basho before I end. Now, Basho writes this poem at a time of incredible political turmoil in Japan, incredible upheaval. Samurais on the loose. You've seen samurais on the movie? In the movies? Probably you have. I try not to go to samurai movies, but some of you do. Samurais on the loose, all over the place, killing people, beheading people, samurai armies fighting each other. And Basho's writing from his little hut. And there's a huge storm, a huge typhoon that comes out in the night. And so not only is all this chaos political, there's the typhoon and his little hut being shaken by the typhoon. And this happens maybe when he goes to bed, I don't know. It sounds like when he goes to bed. The banana tree. Basho means banana tree, by the way, but we won't. I've given a whole series of talks on Basho. Anyway, the banana tree, thrashing in the typhoon, rain drips into an iron tub, a listening night. The banana tree, thrashing in the typhoon. He has a banana tree right outside his hut. Rain drips into an iron tub, a listening night. So this is the fiercest typhoon in years. And yet there he is, listening, seeing the textures of the banana tree being torn, feeling the huge sound passing over, and the plink of the drops of rain in the wash tub. Near, precise, intimate, the balance of the minute and the vast. The extraordinariness of the ordinary, right? The extraordinariness of the ordinary. And that's Basho's way of saying yes, by appreciating that. And us, here we are, right now. And we don't live in, like Basho did, in a little hut out in the country. We're here in the middle of the city. And we have human relationships we're trying to navigate with. We've got partners or roommates and part of saying yes is saying yes to the next difficult conversation and trying to really listen the way Basho listened. Next time there's a difficult conversation, say yes to that difficult conversation. Say yes to the simple act of washing dishes. Say yes to the stillness between your thoughts. Even if your thoughts are going 1,000 miles an hour, there's stillness between them. There's stillness underneath them. There's stillness surrounding them. Doesn't matter how fast they're going. They're steeped in stillness. They're steeped in stillness. So this is freedom. This is freedom in Zen, no Zen. I say no Zen because I don't want to focus on Zen. Life, freedom in life. Freedom in death too, but that's a whole other Dharma talk. So that's what I want to say this morning. And let's see, I'll take questions. Maybe I'll start with people online. Questions or comments with people online. There are a lot of you online. Most of you are not visible. And if you ask a question, please make yourself visible or want to say
I do. Hi, Tim.
Let's see. Can you speak a little louder?
Yes. Hi.
Is there somebody who can help turn up the volume? Does anybody know how to turn up the volume?
Can you tell them the speakers are not on the mic's downstairs?
Oh, I can try to speak louder.
All right. Can you say that again? Maybe you can. My hearing's poor. Can one of you catch it? Oh, say that again, please.
Hi. I just wanted to share that I thank you for the talk. It was really important to know what we do have this moment, and we can soften it up by allowing it to be felt in the body. And it has helped me, but I have to come back to be open to it because it's hard. Right now it's hard. And the first instinct is to try to run away from it. So
stay in the moment, and the first instinct is to run away from it.
That's right. That's right. It takes discipline to stay in the moment. And even then it's hard. And we get caught by our shoulds and should nots. So sometimes our mind is going to veer off, and then we just have to be kind to our mind. Our mind is veering off to try to protect us. And that's what it's trying to do, but it gets so lost that it forgets that the real protection is being here. So we can be kind to it as it veers all over the place. In this time in the United States, the mind is going to be veering all over the place. We can be kind to it. And if, in our very kindness, we're in this moment. We're taking care of it. We're not running away from it. We're being kind to our mind, cruising around trying to find some solace. Kind mind, kind mind. Let's see, that's trying to see what your name is. Oh, that's Paul. That's not Paula, that's Paula, I guess. How was that, Paula? How was that?
that was good. And no, this is Paola. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, before you go back to your seat, Jessica, let's see if anybody else wants to talk from online. Anybody else online want to say anything? Okay, I'll turn to people in the room. Thanks, Jessica. Larry.
Yes, to things like the disappearance of our democracy, acceptance, yet not passivity.
How do you say yes to what?
How do you say yes to things like the decline and disappearance of our democracy with acceptance? Yet
Well,
not,
really, you're
not
saying yes to this is what is.
Yet not
You're not saying, oh, wow, this is cool. You're just saying, yes, this is what is. This is exactly what is. I need to honor that. This is what we've gotten ourselves into as a human. I need to say yes to that. And then I may or may not be able to do something, but if I don't say yes to it, I can't possibly do anything. If I run and hide or pretend it's not existing or cover up, maybe if I do 5 days of meditation, this next retreat, I'll get rid of it. We need to say yes to it. Still do the 5 days, by the way. Still do the 5 days.
that's not passivity.
Pardon?
That's not passivity.
No, that's not passivity. It takes a lot of courage to say yes to difficulty. It takes a lot of courage to say yes to chaos, to acknowledge what's going on. The Democrats are being, I don't want to get very political, but I guess I'm going to get a little. Democrats are being criticized now for being too sort of namby-pamby and not saying yes to really the demise of our democracy. And some Republicans are being criticized too. Yeah, so I don't have to be, all of us are being criticized. Yes, I don't need to be political for not saying yes to the situation we've gotten ourselves in. The most divided country since I was born, much more divided than the 60s. And unfortunately, I remember the 60s very well. Other folks, other people. Yes.
So there's this law of attraction we all hear about. How does that work in relation to the principle of uncertainty?
Can you repeat? I can't hear you very well.
Oh, okay. So, we hear about this law of attraction,
The law of attraction.
Yeah, we can create the reality we want. If we
Yes,
think about it.
yes.
So how does that work in relation to the principle of uncertainty?
The principle of what?
Uncertainty.
Well, everything is uncertain, but we still need to visualize a world that we want, a family that we want, a relationship we want. In Zen particularly, we emphasize the importance of having a dim vision. And that's part of saying yes, doesn't cut out our dim vision. And we say dim vision because when we get a too solid a vision of our future, the shifting sands of uncertainty are going to blow it away. But we need a dim vision. According to Dogen, the dim vision practitioner is the most adept of all, because he, she, they don't concretize their vision, but they keep it alive. They keep it alive. Does that make sense?
I think so. We're having the vision, the goal, but we're not being so tied to it that if it doesn't work
That's
out,
right.
that we can't
Yes, 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 very important. So we're not negating, we are future-oriented beings, so we're not negating future, but if we aren't fully in the present, how can we really move toward a loving future where we feel connected? And T.S. Eliot said, between the ideal in the future and the real falls the shadow. That's because we get caught on the ideal, but we need a vision. We need a dim vision. We need Dogen. Dogen and T.S. Eliot should have gotten together, and they could have done good poetry together. Good poetry. This side of the room?
I'm just listening.
This side of the room? Yes.
Can you speak to anger a little bit when anger arises in the political situation?
Yes. Well, when anger arises, we see anger arising. Anger is arising. We see it arising. If we don't indulge it or repress it, it's like my teacher said, a good bonfire which burns itself completely away. My own first teacher had anger problems, and then he said, I wish I could be like that. This is Suzuki, who's become this mythological figure. He had anger problems. And he said in one of his talks, when someone asked him about anger, he said, be like a good bonfire with your anger. Let it burn everything away. It doesn't mean indulging or repressing it. It means seeing it. And then he said, I wish I could be like that. That was his dim vision. He was hoping to be like that. I mean, after all, he was a Zen teacher, and he was probably a little embarrassed about his anger. I don't know. But if you go to San Francisco, you only hear good things about him. He's become, Kaideger used to say, every time he went to San Francisco, Suzuki got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now if you go there, he's a mythological figure, like Bodhidharma on my wall. But we do that with human beings. But we should be careful, I think, don't you think? Although I do hope you do that for me after I die. That's my dim vision, that you will do that for me. Anyone want to help me with my dim vision? We have a little more time. Questions or comments? People online, people in the room? Yes.
So maybe this is a minor point, but I'm feeling kind of ignorant about one thing. You talked about bear awareness, which is central to what we do in Shikantaza, right? So I feel like I should know something about that. I've always heard bear awareness in the sense of hardly, like barely.
No.
And bear in the sense of naked, uncovered.
No, bear awareness means just being aware. Just being aware. Bare awareness. Not I should be aware, I wish I'd been aware on the lot. I could be more aware. Bare awareness. Bare. And that's very, very similar to Shikantaza. No, I'm not going to get into talking about that right now, but in some ways they really overlap, in some ways they don't. Shikan meaning just to, taza meaning sit, bare awareness. Yeah, that's interesting that, yeah, I say bare awareness can be interpreted that barely being, well, sometimes we're barely aware. That's okay. If we idealize bare awareness, then we give up our sitting. How about being barely aware? That was a good idea. Barely aware. Just be with what is. Sometimes we're barely aware. Can you just be with that? You can. And that's where you can find your deep joy, because you're not trying to be anybody else than you are already. What do you think?
Thank you.
Okay. Other people, we've still got some time, either in the room or online. We can sit quietly for 5 minutes if nobody has anything, but if anybody has anything, speak up. Yes, Carol.
So, in kind of concert with what you were talking about today, in terms of our times and things that are shifting and changing, one of my favorite Japanese poets is Ryokan. And I'm constantly drawn back to a poem of his that is, it seems to really resonate right now.
Okay.
Which is, it's very short, which is he writes, the water of the valley stream never shouts at the tainted world, purify yourself, but naturally, as it is, shows how it is found.
That's beautiful. Could you say that again, Carol?
I hope so. I was really stretching there. The water of the valley stream never shouts at the tainted world, purify yourself, but naturally, as it is, shows how it is done.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Thank you. Being in nature. Being in nature. Wonderful solace for us to be in nature. And we don't have to go out to northern Minnesota, we just go to the backyard. Being in nature. Nature is always showing us how to live with uncertainty, how to live with calmness, how to live with camaraderie. Without idealizing nature either, because anyway, that's a whole other talk. Yes.
I want to say thank you. Today was a wonderful message. So many examples. The river, water running around the rocks, example of a cat, just quietly.
Oh.
But perks up and it's
Yes. Yes.
Still very attentive.
Yes.
So thank you. And in my opinion, you are getting bigger.
And since big is small, there you go. There you go.
Tim, I have one last comment. I like the example that Tony shared. Be an example. Be an example. And sometimes, right now, it feels like the stakes are too high to be an example. We have to fight fire with fire.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to reconcile that, because I feel it's so true to be an example.
Well, I think you can both be an example and fight. I think fight fire with fire has many different meanings, but it doesn't mean you have to be violent. But we've been too wimpy. We've been too wimpy. We've been too, but in a way, we keep saying, oh, democracy may be going. It's going. It's going. We've been too wimpy, but we don't have to be violent. It's because we love democracy and we love feeling a sense that everybody has a say. I mean, that's basic democratic principle, is that everyone has a say in how we create our culture. We love that. And we shouldn't be wimpy about protecting that. But I don't know what we should do. Each of us has to decide. But violence doesn't help. Violence doesn't help. It just cuts us off. It's because these two facets have become so alienated that there's so much from each other and so mistrusting of each other that there's violence. There's paranoia. Well, we'll sit for 3 more minutes unless somebody has anything else. We'll just sit quietly and enjoy the wonder of the ordinariness of uncertainty. And if you have something to bring it up in the next 3 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.